goal of today's meeting is to analyze student data from a social studies quiz given on September 18th. We predetermined our roles today. I'm going to be facilitator, Eric is recorder, and Shannon is timekeeper. Jason, would you please give us an overview of your assessment?
All right, my assessment was a 14-question short answer quiz. I gave the quiz via PowerPoint, and each student had about 30 seconds to answer each question before I moved on to the next one. On the quiz, it was based on culture and what roles culture plays in society. Following that, we moved on to different geography questions where they had to label continents and oceans. Some of the strengths from the quiz: culture, they did very, very well on that. 100% of the students mastered culture, the definition of culture, and were able to list 3 aspects of culture. Some challenges from the test: a lot of the kids were not able to label the oceans. They did very well on the continents, but the oceans they struggled on. That's why I'm bringing this quiz to this data meeting, to get some feedback on that.
So which question did the most students get wrong?
Starting with question 12, labeling the oceans. Most students were able to do this question, but when I got to questions 13, 14, and 15, that's where students started to have trouble with being able to label them.
So we're going to go into the brainstorming session where we're going to help Jason develop an action plan to improve instructional effectiveness. Jen, would you like to start?
Sure. One thing I noticed on, well, question 14's up there. So on questions 13, 14, and 15, one thing I thought might help the students determine which ocean they were looking at would be to have the continents labeled, or even a couple of the countries surrounding it, to give them a better frame of reference for what part of the globe they're looking at.
Number 15, if you could go to number 15, do you think that you could zoom that map out a little bit? That might help them identify focusing on the ocean.
I'm going to pass.
Okay. And for giving it next time, if you do it again, or next year, what improvements do you think that you would make? I noticed you gave it PowerPoint. Did you think about handing out a hard copy to each student?
Yeah, I thought about doing a hard copy for next year just to give the students a little bit more time, and so they can use the quiz to help them answer other questions.
So one other thing I thought about as we were talking would be to I know you said you gave the kids 30 seconds. Some of the students might have needed some extra time to process the math and answer the questions, but I know you just said that with the paper copy that might help, so that's it.
Okay, let's look at what we have written down, because now our next phase is to come to a consensus about what we think, what action plans. So we need a consensus, and then we need to set up a timeline for implementation.
So for brainstorming, we talked about number 14, possibly labeling the continents. Number 15, zooming the map out. PowerPoint versus a hard copy for next year, and extra time as a consideration for next year.
Okay.
So what do you guys think? What would be the most effective thing to implement?
I'm wondering what Mr. Kruger would think would be the most effective way for him to alter the assessment.
I think for next year, even before we had this data meeting, I was thinking about changing up the 13, 14, and 15, finding a better picture for it, maybe a little bit farther away, so students are able to locate the continents first, and then the oceans that touch the shores.
So it sounds like the zoomed out option?
Yep, zoomed out option.
So is there a way, because this isn't, although it would improve for next year, how can we make sure that the students that you have this year understand these concepts?
All through the year, I'm able to reinforce geography in my curriculum. That is one of our goals as a social studies department this year, is to keep reinforcing geography. And I'm going to try to fit it into my curriculum as much as possible.
So would there be an opportunity within the next couple weeks where we could meet again and to see if some of these suggestions have been effective or not with our students?
Absolutely, let's try back in 3 weeks.
Okay?
See how,
Perfect.
see how this plan worked.